Welcome, these will be my thoughts on Daredevil Born Again Season 2 Episode 5, The Grand Design. The episode is rated TVMA, so this video B. There will be spoilers for, I guess, basically everything MCU and adjacent leading up to and including this episode, another episode that I absolutely fucking loved. Now, I have been a little too daring with how much I pushed my back. I'm not getting treatment until Monday fucking morning, which is okay as long as I don't record for too terribly long today and maybe also tomorrow. So probably going to be talking fast during this and going to try to still cover everything that I really wanted to say. Very emotional episode most of the way for the right reasons. I am not in love with the idea that, clearly Vanessa by the end of this episode is indeed dead. And I don't like the whole fridging thing. I think that they did a pretty good job of giving us like this last little bit of, I think the flashbacks worked, and, she was really only awake for a very short bit of time here. And, I do really appreciate that part of, like, it's not impossible she could have been saved if Fisk had just immediately called in the nurse and had her check, but instead he's just like, oh, get her a drink, which, like, hey, if she was okay, if the nurse got to check her first, that wouldn't even necessarily be the worst thing in the world, but yeah. And obviously it's great to see Foggy again. I do still really miss him. Yeah. And it really felt like I feel like you could pretty much edit the flashbacks into like parts of the first season of the Netflix show, and it would slot in just like seamlessly. So that's really great. Yeah, I do really like the thing of yeah, mercy is the big thing with with both Dex and Ray. And yeah, I do think a lot of the best stuff of this version of Matt Murdock and some comic versions that I read, yeah, it's when he is discussing what is justice. For example, with Foggy. And yeah, I thought, it's one of those things where if you use as many flashbacks as you do here, you got to be careful about, like, does it mean something, or you just, like, it can be padding, But yeah, they did do a really great job. And the way that, Foggy was actually, the one more focused on justice here, because like it's true, he puts it really well. All the evidence they have is fruit of a poisoned tree. And yeah, the thing with the yeah, I thought they did a good job with characterizing Ray. Was absolutely not expecting him to make it. I kept waiting for it to end with the death of him at the hands of Buck. And yeah, let's see. So we have the yeah, the way that he talks to Foggy, and at first we're thinking, what a fucking asshole, and then we realize, oh, he thinks he's dead no matter what, So it's like, yeah, he's essentially acting out, but it is also clear that he does usually treat Foggy like this. And yeah, I think the really appreciated the point made about, like, oh, well, Connor, his brother, did well. Yeah, but he was younger. Lionel took the brunt of it. Because that is also something you sometimes see when someone is, I think Foggy lays it out really nicely here. Many cases, if someone is struggling, and engaging in, low-level crime and such, it is because of, that they've had a bad life. And that's not to make excuses, but I'm just saying it's better to try to prevent than to punish. Right, I did want to briefly recommend, so if you haven't already watched Sarah Z, that's right, in this house we pronounce Canadians' names the Canadian way. She made a fantastic video about the, let's see, I think it was, my wrists are too fucking sore right now, but I think it was something along the lines of the rise and fall of the Misery Memoir, something along those lines. Should definitely help you find it. And yeah, yeah, I thought it worked the way that, yeah, the grand design. So, that's the thing. Like, if you agree with her that this whole thing was part of the grand design, then what is, why is this? Like, is this the beginning of the end for Fisk? Because, like, Vanessa was the one person he could not bear to lose. Like, he was upset when Wesley died, was killed, but I think this is going to be on a whole other level. That was also great, seeing Wesley again. Been a while. I suppose not for me personally, because it wasn't that long ago that I rewatched season 1, but there you go. Anyway, I think yeah, because they do really make sure we get that, because, like, Vanessa looks at Rabbit in a Snowstorm and says, this is going to sell well, and the other person's like, nah, forget about it, But which is a weird thing for a New Yorker to say, or wait. And then, she does, sell, yeah, we already knew that she ends up selling it to Wilson, but she keeps insisting, is what I mean. And eventually he sees it and buys it. And, yeah, she did appreciate, like, I remember her pitch. It was not quite what she said here, but yeah, she understood, yeah, it's the emptiness. And if the right person sees that, they're going to feel it reflects them and they need to have it. They'll overpay for it. And I think that does pretty much... Yeah, I thought they did a really great job on the tension and suspense. This thing of, like, Dex and Daredevil moving from place to place, and the part where, Dex would try to provoke him. He would make himself as heavy as possible and say Foggy's name, which, like, holy shit. Yeah. When Matt lets the devil out, he really does not hold that. Or I suppose that more refers to when he's, like, punching the shit out of someone. But yeah, he grabbed him by the fucking throat and said in no uncertain terms, you don't get to say his name. And then later he makes sure to say Foggy's name. So yeah, he took the wrong lesson from what Matt wanted him to. And but no, seriously though, yeah, he's telling him, leave me, because he's ready to die. He knew that it was a suicide mission. He didn't expect Matt to save him. And let's see, yeah, so apparently Daniel, I don't know, I guess it's possible that it is just a loyalty test, because I feel like, can they really not find even one other person that's more likely to be able to, like, actually go through with this without... It was slightly unclear to me, was that baby in the trunk? Because, like, I do feel like, I mean, Bug is smart. Like, who else would it have been that, but yeah, I mean, if it's one of those things, I appreciate the, sometimes in media they have this test specifically because it's like, well, if they do this for us, then they're a made man. That means that we can trust them with anything. And a lot of time in media, of course, they don't go through with it, and some of us are left behind thinking, like, why did they test? But it's more dramatic that way, certainly. But yeah, I did appreciate, like, I too spent like half the episode thinking, oh, I guess this is when Daniel gets whacked. And I do hope that does not happen. He is one of my favorite characters on the show, so I hope he sticks around. Cool to see younger Buck. And let's see, I think that pretty much... Yeah, I like the unspoken... He of the unspoken fetish. That was fun. And yeah, what a fucking asshole that he was. I think that pretty much brings us to the yeah, I think the part where the yeah, oh my god, the repeated image of them on the beach was also just, yeah. And I did really appreciate, I sometimes I'm a bit of a mark for a good tragic love story. It is very, yeah, like they were apparently meant to be, and then this is how it ends. And I did think they did a good job of, like, so near the end, she's definitely, there's definitely something weird, because she's like, I've never seen you like this. Okay, there's definitely some, like, memory fuck up going on there, because, like, yeah, I mean, it seems like maybe she can't remember much of anything past, like, I don't know, their first 2 dates or something, like, she's seen him like this, she knows, yeah, but let's see, I think, yeah, and you know, she's like, tell me a story, and he is, you know, yeah, he tells her the day they met, and then she asks for a story again, and then she can't even finish the sentence, and just, yeah, like, very clear, you know, I felt like they did a good job over the course of the episode making it clearer and clearer that there's no way she's going to make it. Right, if you haven't already, let's see, I think it was both Jesse Gender and Council of Geeks that did excellent videos on. I haven't watched, if they have already done for this episode, I haven't watched those yet. I've watched for the episodes leading up to this one that they've done, and or the videos that they've done, whatever. And the let's see, I think that does pretty much. See, I should probably wrap this up for the sake of my back. So I'm just real quick gonna fast forward mentally through the episode. Yeah. Oh my God. I can hardly believe that he actually fucking brought Dex to Karen, and yeah, her reaction was very appropriate, and I don't think this is going to go well. And let's see, I think, yeah, I appreciated the fatalism Dex expresses here, and the way that, yeah, he's like, well, you know, that night I should have died. I should have died from you throwing me off the roof. And I'm still here. So, you know, that whole thing I thought worked. It felt true to his character, and also just an interesting place for his character to be right now. Yeah, I think that does pretty much cover the, yeah, oh my God, the part where, yeah, so Daniel, understandably, you know, frustrated with BB asking questions, and then, you know, he does give some information, and she spreads it, which, like, I gotta say, at this point, I don't even know, like, was she just hoping that he would still cover for her and that it wouldn't be discovered? Because it's like, I mean, at this point, yeah, you know, hardly anyone even knew, you know, yeah, a critical condition in which hospital Vanessa was in. So, yeah. And yeah, threatening to, you know, yeah, threatening the reporter. I guess they're gonna imprison them in prison for, you know, reporting something they've been told. If you haven't already watched, Legia Miller did a fantastic video. I might actually already recommend it in another video, but yeah, about Trump arresting reporters. Anyway, I think that does pretty much cover the entire episode. Yeah, really looking forward to more. Yeah, not a big fan of fridging Vanessa, but I hope that they can at least make something really compelling out of, you know, both Fisk in this completely new situation that we've never quite seen him in before, and also Karen having to deal with Dex right there, you know, after he murdered Foggy, and, like, let's not forget, he also attacked her in season 3 of the Netflix show. So yeah, still no Jessica Jones. I do hope. I mean, I don't know. It almost feels. Should I even be like saying, oh, you know, when is she gonna be on the show? I literally just finished rewatching season 2, and yes, it's just as amazing as it was on my initial viewing. My God, yeah, Jessica Jones remains one of my absolute favorites of. I mean, really, comic book media. Period. I was gonna say like Marvel, but yeah, just yeah. And it also, yeah, more great stuff with Powell. The thing with, you know, yeah, even like this thing of like, oh, you know, you can't bring guns into House of God. No, the rules have changed. Oh shit, was that the other cop? Yeah. Anyway, he's certainly going along with it. He didn't exactly say, oh wait, shit, the, you know, House of God and all. But yeah, the and you know, he finds the blood, but not the two of yeah. Anyway, the yeah. Considering how much the AVTF are coded as like ICE and or cops in America, yeah, my God, did it feel depressingly accurate that this very Trumpy Trisk, felt the need to specify, don't kill them, keep them alive. And, meanwhile we have Powell's face and he's like, that word is not part of my vocabulary when it comes to people I target.